Hello there my friends, welcome to my another video. Today we are looking at this brand new set that came onto my desk. Let me get a better shot here. This is the 1/72 scale M60A3 and M60A1 with ERA, that's the War Crime edition. Today we are going to do the A3 variant, but we'll do the arguably cooler one in the future, so let's get right into it. Right away, the first positive of the kit is the incredibly Chad inclusion of the instruction booklet. None of that fold-out bullshit that covers your whole desk so much that you may as well use it as the video background in my case. I start to snip the parts out of the sprues using side cutters. These pieces have some amazing detail. All that's missing are maybe textures that are often present in some other kits of this price range, from Vespid for example. Then using Tamiya extra thin, quick type cement, I glue the parts. I squeezed them together a bit too much, which resulted in some goopy diluted cement coming out the sides, so I quickly sanded it. The fitting is very nice, I must say. I'm happy Takom finally realized that 1/72 scale isn't just scaled down 1/35, and didn't just make every tiny piece made out of gazillion other, even smaller pieces. While working on the swing arms, I was ascended into heaven. These parts are usually the fiddliest parts of models that make wheels all wonky and ugly, but here, my people, here they beautifully fit into place, gracefully sliding into their holes, holding exactly in their place, leaving no wonky fitting and no ugly wheels. You even get this really useful, super nice rig that you can use to make the alignment even better, which would be great on other kits, and I wish other companies did this, but here it's not even needed because they fit just that good. The road wheels have no pointless pins that, make you fit them in a specific place, just a nice recess that make them fit together really nicely. So I just hold them together simply, letting the glue sip in the middle, creating an amazing quick bond. I'm not done with my praises. Look at this. This is the only way to correctly mold a sprocket, and you can't say otherwise. Nice easy pins at the end of the teeth, not in between them, so there is no worry in accidentally cutting the teeth off while digging in between the teeth, trying to get the sprue gate out. Seeing that the wheels had a great fitting, not too tight, not too loose, I proceeded to work on my typical track assembly, where I simply put the single links around the sprocket and idler, according to the instruction, then I wrap the rest of the track pieces around the running gear, but not gluing anything to the hull, so it's easily removable. Simply gluing the tracks to the wheels and in the tracks to the tracks, this creates a nice trumpeter-like sub-assembly that you can remove and easily paint. The biggest fitting issue on my copy was the turret. The two parts left an annoying gap in between them. Thankfully it got covered by the texturing. Speaking of that, I started it by making these quick cuts with my scalpel on the turning ring, according to my reference. What are they? Why are they there? Did I completely over-exaggerate the effect and it shouldn't be this visible? I guess we'll never know. Then, using the basic Tamiya glue, I diluted Tamiya putty and stipple it onto the surface to create a very slight cast texture. Holes of the M60s were apparently cast, and well, it's basically invisible in the real vehicle. And I don't care, and I want to make the model show this fact and make it visually more interesting. This is what I would say if the texture was actually visible at the end, but it's not. But I know it's there, and now you do too, so... On the turret, I used this method to also fill up the gap that I already mentioned, and it kind of completely covered the cuts as well, but they are still visible in some areas, so, you know, it's a slight texture. Not too visible, not too harsh like on a Russian vehicle. Technically it would be probably more realistic to not include it at all in this scale. Then I started assembling the tiny 50 cal turret, I guess you would call it, the commander turret. I don't know, I noticed a small issue with this one. There is a gap at the bottom that looks like it requires a piece to be put there, but there is no piece that I can put there. So I don't know why it's there, and it's quite annoying. However, for all the figure loving modelers, all the hatches on the model are openable, including this one on the 50 cal turret, which is really cool. Here you can see the tiny gap, but as I said, it's more or less okay because the turret has a tiny little swivel. The model also includes some photo etch, mainly for the bustles, and wasn't anything too hard or serious, just having to bend it was kind of annoying. Off screen, I tried sculpting some bags, but since I'm rather incompetent, I didn't record it since they look pretty bad. It's something I gotta try getting better at in the future, so definitely gonna try it in future videos. However, after I disassembled the model, it was time to start base coating it. I started with Natto brown color. This color turned out to be way too bright and really close to a sort of brick color, which was very wrong for my paint scheme that I wanted to do. So I just covered the whole model in this color regardless. I attempted to fix it by essentially reverse post shading, or I guess I would call it that, but I'm not really sure if that's how you would call it. Essentially what I did was I took a darker brown color, started spraying it in the more recessed shadowed areas to make the overall tank look darker, and the light brown to be on the top as if it was post shaded. Of course, this didn't come out as I imagined at all, so I just covered the whole thing in this darker brown color. Since my reference showed the green to have soft edges on the camouflage, and because I will take any excuse I can as to not mask anything, I started spraying on the green pattern. Of course it was made up, because I wasn't following an exact pattern, but I hope that's okay and no one will crucify me. With a lighter green, I then started adding highlights on the highlighted areas, aka in the middle of panels, as I always do. Since I ended up covering the entire thing in the darker brown anyway, I then did the same with a lighter brown, also spraying insides of panels, trying to make them look more highlighted. As you can see, the highlights aren't very visible, and the bigger contrast would have looked way better because it would have gave the model even more interesting texture. I suppose that's a thing I will learn for future projects. I spray on white color in a scribbly irregular pattern, not really following the edges of the two colors, as that's how it was done. It almost looked like it was supposed to simulate something, I don't know what, but yeah, I'm just spraying it on in some scribbles. Then I brush paint the black pattern with a brush. I suppose this was supposed to represent twigs. I don't understand why everything on the camouflage was soft edge, but this was hard edge. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe I'm just coping, or I'm blind, or I didn't explain myself the camouflage correctly. Once that's all done, I start painting the stowage on the back. The boxes filled with mystery are base coated with brown. And the disaster vaguely reminiscent of a bag is base coated in a military green. The letter dust cover on the gun and the commander turret needs some love, so I start by base coating it with leather brown. Afterwards, I add buff to the color mixture, lightening it a bit, and I paint most of the upper and highlighted areas. I then lighten it again, and I paint smaller highlighted areas with even lighter color. I repeat this several times until I'm pleased with the result, and I repeat the same process on the back things with lighter greens. With buff, I then paint really fine lines onto the boxes, and this should simulate somewhat the texture of wood. You could also dry brush it with the buff as well. I guess that could work just as well. The tracks were simply base coated with rusty brown, and then the upper parts, the rubber parts, not the upper parts, got a coat of black. The same black was used then on the tires. After varnishing the model, I started adding washes onto the model. This time I used AK Dark Brown wash, using it as I usually do. Diluted, applied around details, and I let it dry to the touch, and then I simply blended with thinner. However, this wash actually acted a bit differently to the ammo washes, which took me by surprise. It was quite harder to clean with the thinner, which resulted in me being a little more aggressive, which meant I kind of destroyed my brushes, but I guess that's okay, I bought new ones. but it's something to keep in mind for next projects. I don't really know why it acted this way. It was probably my fault though, as it always is. I then started adding some really slight and not really overdone chipping, and you must be thinking, oh my god, Peter, you tried not overdoing the chipping? What has happened to you? And to that I will answer, I really wanted to try weathering on this model, because that's one of my things that I don't really know how to do as well as I would like to do them, and I thought that making this model chipped, if it's gonna get covered in mud anyway, would be kind of just waste of time. So I just did some really slight chipping, and then I moved on to my made up weathering techniques. I started by adding Viejo texture paste. I think this is the dark mud one. I started adding it onto all of the areas where I would expect mud to get caught on. Now this is the first step I do, because I saw other modelers do it as a first step, but in retrospect I think this should have been the last step, but you know, I was learning and I was brainstorming, and I'm not good at brainstorming, so I don't know, it could have looked way better, and you'll see in my next projects that I think I perfected this, but for now I first applied the texture. Then I got this new handy dandy oil brusher set. I've seen most modelers using enamels for weathering, but I wanted to use these oil brushers because they seemed pretty good. So I start by taking the dusty oil brusher and I add it onto the surface only in some small areas, because if you've ever worked with oil brushers, you know that you can create a quite big area of effect just from a small dot of the oil. So I just apply it around the bottom, and then I start spreading it with first a dry paintbrush, working it downwards to create streaking effects and trying to blend it around to make everything look dusty. Then I also dipped the paintbrush into a thinner, enamel thinner, the odorless one. This helped quite a lot with blending these colors. And honestly, I could have left it here. The dust looked really good, but I wanted to add some mud as well. So I took the second color from the oil brusher set, the dark earth, or I think that's how it's called, or ground, and I applied it around the muddier areas where there was the texture already applied, and I started blending it with the thinner, making more streaking effects, hoping that I would create streaks over the dusty oils underneath, but since the dusty oil wasn't perfectly dry yet, it just mixed together, so that's something to keep in mind. So once that was done, I applied it around the tracks and wheels as well, and I started working on the dusty effects on the upper surfaces, and this, I'm really happy with this. Basically what I did, I slightly diluted the color straight up, and I applied it to the crevices and to the edges, and then I started blending them towards the middle, which created a really nice dusty effect on the upper surfaces. This is one of the things that I've been missing on my models, and I think this is one of the best ways to do it for me for now. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. And basically with that, the model was done once this was done, so I would like to thank you for watching this video. Let me know what you think about it down in the comments. If you would like to support me, please give this video a like, a subscribe, and share it around so YouTube can see that people enjoy my content, hopefully. If you would like to support me financially, you can find my Patreon down in the description. There I will start posting some 3D models for printing, and you can get in touch with me, start talking with me, you can get my Discord and stuff like that. Otherwise, that's gonna be it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it and then you're excited for the second M60 eventually. I'm definitely excited for it because this was an amazing model, and if I had to review it, I think it's definitely a 8 out of 10 model, and it's definitely worth it. So if you are looking for an M60, get this instead of those old Italian ones. Anyway, enough rambling for now. I am going to work on some cope cages, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye!